Today we're going to be looking at who I think are the greatest wrestlers of all time whose names start with each letter of the alphabet. So we're going to go from A through Z, every single letter, and pick out who I think was the best wrestler of all time whose name starts with that letter. However, for this video, we're adding a twist because I've invited on Denise Salcedo, and she's going to be playing along as well with her own individual choices to see how similar our choices are or how vastly different they are. But you should know that I gave her absolutely no direction for this video. I just told her, pick who you think is the best wrestler. I didn't give her a definition of what wrestler meant. I didn't tell her what promotions to pick from. I just wanted to see what she would come up with to see really how vastly different our picks would be. And I think you're gonna like this video. Let's jump into it. But hey, as always, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, ring the bell for notifications. If you're a wrestling fan, I know you're gonna fall in love with this YouTube channel because we always upload daily wrestling content. All right, now let's jump into it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with the legendary Denise Salcedo. Denise, how have you been?
Oh my God, what I gotta tell you introducing me as legendary just kind of put my ego up. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do this video, by the way.
Yeah, and this isn't our first rodeo together. For folks that are here on my channel that maybe this is the first time seeing Denise, we actually already recorded a video together over on her channel. So this is kind of like a dual collaboration. So Denise, can you quickly just tell people on my channel what they can expect over on yours?
All right, so first of all, the video that you and I did was so much freaking fun. We were just laughing the entire time, but literally what we did was decide if we just had like a magic button to press, how many or like who from AEW would we swap to WWE and who from WWE we would swap to AEW, and we had totally different picks, so it was a good time.
And I'm thinking that we're gonna have some pretty different stuff here as well, or maybe not, who knows, but the editor will put a little link here for you if you guys want to check out the video that I already did with Denise. But today we're gonna be trying to see how in sync we are in terms of what we think are the best wrestlers, WWE superstars, throughout the entire alphabet. We're gonna go from A all the way through Z, each individual letter, and we're gonna try and see if we think that each person that starts at each letter is the greatest WWE or wrestler of all time. I gave Denise no parameters, so this is gonna be, as we say on this channel, a bit of a shit show.
Okay, so I gotta be real with you. I did this while I was laying in bed and I was like looking up and I'm like, okay, I'm thinking, and I kept thinking, is there someone I'm not thinking about during the entire thing?
The beauty of this is that at some point or another, you're gonna be a villain. How could you not pick this? It's gonna happen. I know it's gonna happen. But Denise, let's get started here. We've got the letter A, and I'm hoping that this is one that we both did together. What did you pick for the letter A?
All right, so I went with AJ Styles.
Bang! Let's go.
Yes!
Okay. We are in sync here. For me, with him, it's, you know, it's AJ freaking Styles, WWE, New Japan, TNA. Like, there's no argument that needs to be made here.
No, for sure. And that's the thing, by the way, I went with everybody in their first letter. So you'll see the similar theme throughout the entire alphabet. But here's the thing, when it comes to AJ Styles, he was the guy that got me into TNA because I didn't watch TNA. Like, I wasn't really like a fan. And then, well, long story short, I met a guy who liked TNA, and I was like, okay, well, clearly I want to talk to him and I want to, you know, have more in common, right? So I started to watch TNA because of him, and the person that he showed me was AJ Styles. And so AJ Styles was literally like his matches with Jerry Lynn, his matches just like throughout his TNA history is what made me a big fan of his. So when he came to WWE, oh my God, it was such a big deal.
And they screwed it up with the camera work. Well done, WWE, zooming in on Roman's dumb face at the Royal Rumble.
Hey, for a lot of people, they're like, ooh, Roman Reigns, yeah.
I guess, yeah. Let's jump over to B here. Denise, what did you have here? Because I do think that there are some options here.
There were some options here, and I thought I knew which direction I was going to go in, but I ended up going with Bryan Danielson.
Okay, so this is hilarious. We'll talk about this later. So I went in the WWE route. I went with Brock Lesnar, and a lot of stuff with him right now. I don't even need to get into that. You know, people have their opinions. Things will come out. but undeniably, in terms of the things that he's done in the ring, I can't take that away from him. King of the Ring, multi-time Royal Rumble winner, umpteenth time WrestleMania main eventer. The guy has done it all, really, in the WWE, but I love that you went with Bryan Danielson for this instead of Daniel Bryan. That's the beauty of this video. I want to hear why we went with
now
Bryan
I feel stupid. Now I feel stupid. I could have done that. But in my mind, I'm like, okay, right now he's Bryan Danielson. So Bryan Danielson will go in the B category. So now I feel really stupid because then I could have done Bret Hart in the B category. And I was arguing with myself amongst this. Like, I was literally going, okay, should I go with Bret? Should I go with Bryan? And I was so caught up in the moment that I ended up going with Bryan. But the reason why I went with Bryan is I've been watching him wrestle since he was in PWG. And he really just, oh my God, one of my all-time favorite wrestlers from the very beginning. And so I feel like even though I love Bret, I've just followed so much more longer Bryan's work, both in WWE, in the Indies, Ring of Honor, AEW. I mean, literally everywhere that this man has been. And so even though I love Bret, I had to go with Bryan Danielson on this one. I just think he's the GOAT, man.
I think that's fair, entirely fair. And that's the beauty of this video. I really wanted to see what route you were going to take. I think Bret Hart would have been the safer route. You would have been able to fill some holes a bit better.
Oh, I feel so depressed now. This is a science.
All right, I'm excited to see what we have for C here because quite a few options here. And I think that I went in a bit of a different route and I would be shocked if we were in sync here. What do you have here, Denise?
All right, so for this one, I went with my all-time favorite wrestler. And I know things right now are not perfect with this person, but I have been such a fan of this person my entire life. It's Chris Jericho. He had to be the one for me on this one because he's the one who really, really made me into like a hardcore wrestling fan. And so it's Jericho.
I think that's entirely fair. For me, it was between Jericho and the person that I went on here with. The reason I ended up going with this person is because I think I could make an argument that Jericho is not a top 5 greatest WWE or wrestler of all time. There's just so many people on the men's side of things, but I think I can make a really strong argument that Charlotte on the women's side could be and could go down as the greatest women's wrestler, WWE superstar of all time. So I had to weigh things out. Chris Jericho was the choice of my heart, but I wanted to give some love to the women's division because she's so high up there on that list, on that Mount Rushmore. Meanwhile, on the men's side, there's just so much competition for that men's Mount Rushmore of professional wrestlers that I don't think Chris Jericho, at least for me, makes it into the Mount Rushmore. But for women, Charlotte does for me.
I see what you're saying. So I got to tell you, I'm very surprised. I love Charlotte. She's actually, she's my second favorite women's wrestler over on the WWE side of things. And I love her work. And I feel like she gets so much hate on the internet, which sucks, of course. And so I love that you kind of like gave her flowers here because I do love Charlotte Flair. And I think that she deserves a little bit more love. But yeah, I had to go with Chris Jericho just because of everything he's done in the business. And oh God, I used to just was a big fan since I was a child.
He's so good. And even this thing that everybody thought was gonna flop, the tree, is now everybody's like, okay, I guess I'm on
Not
board.
really. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. No, I'm not there yet. It's still not good.
Fair enough. I've had my moment where I was like, you son of a bitch, I'm in.
No, not me, not yet. Okay. I'm just like, oh God, turn around.
All right, let's go to D, and I'm just gonna spoil it for you. I went Daniel Bryan here.
Oh my God.
Daniel Bryan, we could have been in sync here. You've already said everything that needs to be said about Daniel Bryan, whether it's his work across the independents, AEW, of course, the WWE. This man has done it all. You can turn any page of his career and you're gonna find a classic match that could be in debate for the best match of that year or the best match of that decade. That's just the kind of wrestler that Daniel Bryan is. Or in your case, Bryan Danielson. Who did you have in D? I'm so curious who you pulled out here.
So I don't think anybody will be able to guess it. So first of all, like I said, my list is all over the place. It's past, it's present, it's every company, you name it. I went here with Dusty Rhodes.
Ooh, I love the choice. I love that we're going vintage here. Why did you end up going with Dusty here?
Okay, so I've been rewatching a bunch of old WCW, and it's just like the thing that's always on my television whenever I'm not working, whenever I'm not watching the current stuff. I'm going back and I'm rewatching WCW, watching some moments, all of that. And so recently, Dusty's just been at the forefront of my mind a whole lot lately. And, when you think of Dusty, you think of course, first thing first, you think of him being such a great promo. We all know that. I mean, this man can make you laugh. He can make you cry. We all know the Hard Times promo. As a matter of fact, I have this running joke in my house that anytime something doesn't go my way, I'm like, Hard Times is having to come home, wash the dishes. Hard Times is having a bunch of laundry to fold. Hard Times is working 10-hour days and still having to clean the house. So it's like this running joke that I do in my house. And so it's caught on now. But the promo stuff, but of course he's such a great worker. Anybody that, has seen Dusty Rhodes in any sort of capacity, this. And of course, everything that he did later on in his career, giving back to pro wrestling by helping train the stars you're seeing today, it's Dusty Rhodes all the way.
I love the choice. I would not fight you on it. I like my choice a bit more personally, but I really do love the Dusty shout here.
We're
I think
so
it's totally
different.
fair. Yeah, this is the beauty of this. Let's go to E. I'm thinking we won't be so different here.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Oh,
I already
geez,
know there's no
doing?
way you chose my person.
Who did you go with?
You go first. Or should I go first?
I'll go first. I'll show you.
Okay.
I'm really curious what you went with. I went for the low-hanging fruit here. How can it not be Edge?
Oh, shit. I did not go for Edge.
Who'd you go with?
Again, totally different. I went with El Hijo del Vikingo.
Oh, okay. That's wrong. I'm just gonna tell you that's wrong, but I'm so curious to hear your argument for Hijo del Vikingo, who is an absolutely jaw-droppingly exciting in-ring performer. But
you said it right there. You said it right there. Vikingo is somebody that when you look at him, you're just like, is he even human? No, he's like a rubber band. He's a rubber band in human form. And so the things that he does have just been incredible. And I love whenever we see lucha stars go out there and really make a name for themselves. Of course, it all started with Rey Mysterio being the first one. We've recently seen the Lucha Brothers do it. Vikingo's keeping that going. And there's so many others in between. I chose Vikingo because when I think of someone that has left me going, stars coming out of my eyes, it's Vikingo. And the reason why, I didn't go with Edge because I'm like, I love Edge, obviously. I grew up a fan. I mean, the TLC matches, if it wasn't for the TLC matches, I probably wouldn't be sitting here right now. But even though I love Edge, I don't have that same reaction that I have to El Hijo del Vikingo.
That's fair. I think that Hijo del Vikingo will give you that reaction on a nightly basis. Meanwhile, Edge, it is few and far between when we get those holy smokes moments from him. But I think those holy smokes moments from Edge are the ones that get replayed over and over and over again. And I don't see that happening with Hijo del Vikingo just yet. But with Edge, you see the flaming table with Mick Foley. You see the stuff with TLC, as you've mentioned, his crazy spots with The Undertaker and John Cena. But also, he's just one of the most recognizable characters from the era of wrestling that got me in, the Ruthless Aggression era. And as a Canadian myself, I'm pretty sure that I would have to lose my citizenship if I didn't go with Edge here.
I love that. Again, I told you this list of mine is all over the place.
I love this, and I will reiterate one more time. I think you're wrong. This is...
You know what? So far, I haven't hated any of your choices just yet.
Okay, that's good. F. There's actually not too much here. I
think we're going to be twins on this one.
Okay, you go first on this one then.
Finn Balor.
Finn Balor.
I knew it. I knew it. I was like, who else are you going to go with? There's nobody else that I think that is really at that level when you think of the F names. And Finn Balor, I mean, God, I really wish that we got to see Finn Balor full throttle in WWE because we've gotten to see so much more of what he can do outside of WWE. And of course, you think of the Demon, so freaking cool, such a different character. And so, yeah, it's got to be Finn Balor.
I absolutely agree. I also think he's one of those pioneers of how to that he paved the way for how to make that transition from the independents, New Japan into the WWE circuit. That to me, he is the greatest NXT black and gold superstar of all time. I do feel he's highly underutilized in the main roster of the WWE, but I also think that Finn Balor, what makes him so special is that you can pluck him from any sort of wrestling promotion, put him anywhere you want, and he's gonna flourish and be one of the best guys on that roster.
Just mix him in. He's like the perfect ingredient for any soup you want.
Yeah, I think as a small spoiler to my viewers, Denise, you took Finn Balor from WWE to AEW, if I'm remembering correctly.
I did actually. You're right. I did. So there you go, a little spoiler of that video. But he's honestly someone like you said, can be anywhere, and he will be a top star.
Absolutely. Let's go to G. And there is one guy at G that I think if you just want to go with the record books and the history books, that's what you want to go with. But I didn't want to go with that guy. I'm going to give you mine first, okay? Because I think that the pundits online and anything online would tell you Goldberg, but there's no way I was going to go with Goldberg over the ring general. I was between Gunther and Goldust. Ended up going with Gunther here. Very curious to see where you went with G.
Well, my friend, keep the image on the screen because I also went with Gunther. Yes! Dude, that's my champion right there, man. Gunther, to me, is just like, my favorite people are scary people that are so freaking dominant in the ring, that have the aura of, I am going to kick your ass and there's nothing you can do about it. And Gunther, to me, is that person. Of course, we're talking about, his legendary run as Intercontinental Champion. Absolutely killed it. The matches he's had with Sheamus, with Drew McIntyre, with Ilya Dragunov. I feel like Gunther had to be the answer here.
I'm 100% with you. I also think that it would be criminal to not have the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, in my humble opinion. And when you look at the people that have held that belt, my goodness, to be able to call yourself the best Intercontinental Champion of all time is a legendary feat. But if you strip away the accolades, if you strip away the championships and everything that he's accomplished, he's just a 5-star match machine. Anytime, whether it's Monday Night Raw, premium live events, independents, NXT, NXT UK, you can be certain that Gunther is going to give you the match of the night. And if you let him, he's going to give you a match of the decade contender. That's just the type of guy that he is. And from a character point of view, I love what you said about that kind of scary guy that just owns the room whenever he comes in. He reminds me of a Terminator, where I don't see a weakness with him. He is such a cool, unique throwback to old school wrestling being plunked down in today's modern day WWE. I love what Gunther's got to offer.
I feel you, man. He's the answer right here.
Let's go to H. What are you thinking here? What did you go with? Did you go with
Legacy?
What did you go with?
I went a totally different direction. So here I went with somebody that got me into a promotion, and that promotion is New Japan Pro Wrestling. If it wasn't for this guy, Hiroshi Tanahashi, I would not have gotten into New Japan Pro Wrestling. He was the one that, like, all of a sudden, I'm learning of him and I'm seeing his matches. I'm hearing about this guy and I'm like, okay, well, let me watch. And I watched him and I'm like, yes, I know exactly why they call him the Ace. Such a great wrestler, such a great performer. I love people that just have the star aura, and there are very few people that have that, and Hiroshi Tanahashi has that. And so if it wasn't for him, I would have never gotten into New Japan. So that's why I chose Hiroshi Tanahashi.
I think that's a perfectly valid answer. I think a lot of people that have dabbled in New Japan would probably agree with you that was their jumping off point with Hiroshi Tanahashi. I'm so glad that I brought you here to help balance out my basic bitch answers of Hulk Hogan. Look, in terms of a Hulk Hogan, to me, like, in terms of an in-ring competitor, you can make so many arguments that it's not him, and I would listen to those arguments and I would tell you that you're right. But to me, he's the blueprint of the modern day WWE superstar. To me, he is the inflection point in the history of professional wrestling, where we went from guys in the ring that are wrestling to larger than life characters that are there to entertain you, whether it's in the ring or outside of the ring. The legacy that this man has left behind, even though he's not my favorite out there, I thought was undeniable. And again, I'm so happy you're around to balance me out with Hiroshi Tanahashi.
So, hey, do you like cinnamon spice coffee?
I do, yes.
Okay, well, I hate cinnamon spice, and it's the most basic bitch drink out there.
Oh my, you just called me out like that with my Starbucks order. Jeez.
Yeah, I hate cinnamon spice, by the way. I hate it. But anyways, I think at some point a lot of us were little Hulkamaniacs. I used to be a Hulkamaniac. Of course, unfortunately, I think that a lot of what Hulk Hogan did afterwards sort of changed his perception of him.
Absolutely.
So it is really hard to be like, I can't comfortably call myself a Hulkamaniac anymore. But of course, regardless, you still have to, of course, you can acknowledge what he did for the industry because he did a whole lot for the industry. So I 100% get why you chose him, because back in the day, I mean, I was there when he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and I remember being like, woo, yeah, all these things. But, unfortunately, things change. But yeah, I know why you chose him.
It's different now. All right, Denise, I'm really excited to see what you have for I, because I couldn't think of anything. I had a bit of a brain fart at I, and I just kept coming back to one guy, and not because I got to witness him back in the heyday of the 80s and the 70s. His Twitter account is what won me over. I have Iron Sheik here. With how ridiculous he is, he's to be the guy when I think of somebody that starts with an I. Like, I immediately thought of Iron Sheik. I didn't even try and think of anyone else. I saw I was like, Iron Sheik. I went with my gut here. I went with Sheiky, baby. I hope you have an answer here to balance me out.
So it's funny because my favorite Iron Sheik memory is the WrestleMania 17, the Little Legends Battle Royal that they did. I found out years later that the reason why they had him win was because he couldn't get eliminated.
What?
Like physically.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know. I didn't know it at the time. I found out later. And I'm like, that's so freaking funny because, unfortunately, he just couldn't. He couldn't take that bump. He just couldn't. So that's why he had to win. So it's just a funny little story. But anyways, I went with the Mad Dragon, Ilya Dragunov.
That's so much better. That's such a much
I was
better
going to say,
answer.
how did you forget Ilya?
I know. Look, I almost have Sheiky here for the memes. It's almost just for the memes and the Twitter account. But Ilya Dragunov, it's the right answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love Ilya. I mentioned him earlier when we were talking about Gunther. I think he gives everybody their best matches. He's my guy, man. I think he's so freaking awesome. Such an incredible wrestler. I'm seated whenever he's on my screen.
100%. And I think he's the only one that I know right now that can cut a promo with his veins. You just like the veins pop out, and I'm like, that's just part of the Ilya Dragunov promo experience. I don't see anyone else doing something like that.
Yeah, and the way he sells, too, is so intense. I love him. He's an intense guy. I told you, I like intense people.
I think that's entirely fair. Somebody needs to tell Ilya Dragunov that wrestling doesn't have to be real every single time that he takes a bump, because it looks like he's going to get decapitated every single time.
It does. You're right.
All right, let's jump to Jay. Don't disappoint me here, Denise. Denise, I will end this video right now if you disappoint me. Please do not. Please don't. Denise, what did you pick for Jay?
Is there an obvious answer?
Oh my God, Denise, there is an absolute obvious answer here.
Who am I missing? Okay, well, I'll tell you with what I went, and so I'm sorry if I missed the obvious anser. I went with Josh Alexander. Because I think he is a great freaking wrestler. Dude, he's amazing. I feel there are certain wrestlers, when you watch them wrestle, you can literally see, it's like a painting. You're seeing them do the story with every move. I say this all the time. Every time I talk about Josh Alexander, I get smarter as a wrestling fan watching that man wrestle because his psychology is extraordinary.
Everything you're saying is true. It's facts. I do not deny it. But this is my favorite WWE superstar of all time. It's John Cena.
Oh, I thought of John Cena, but I didn't want to be basic.
It's okay to be basic. It's okay to like vanilla. Sometimes it's the right flavor to go with, Denise.
I'm more of like a cheesecake, black cherry type of person, rainbow sherbet.
It's John Cena, Denise.
Here's the thing, though. I will tell you this. I was not a John Cena fan growing up.
And I think
growing up, I hated John Cena. I used to get so mad when I used to go to the shows. I'm like, ugh, it's John Cena again. I used to hate him, and it's honestly for the dumbest reason. But you know that John Cena was popular with women and with children, right? Mm-hmm. What am I? I was back then a woman. Well, I'm still a woman, but a woman and a children. And a child. And so I didn't want to fit into the box of what I thought I was supposed to like, what was supposed to be for me. I'm like, no, I'm going to be different, pick differently. And so John Cena back then just wasn't my guy. I didn't appreciate John Cena until years later.
And I think a lot of people do go through that. Even as somebody that's a giant John Cena mark, I'm known as the John Cena guy on YouTube. I love this man. Even I had a tough time being able to swallow the John Cena pill from 2007 to about 2013. It could be a tough watch, especially when you have Daniel Bryan and CM Punk not main eventing the match for the WWE Championship because the WWE prefers to have John Cena versus John Laurinaitis. So I totally get it, but in terms of everything that this man has done, I couldn't keep him off this list. It's also my personal favorite WWE superstar of all time. I'm the biggest John Cena apologist of all time. I'm the John Cena guy. Yeah, I love John Cena.
Oh, I was about to say, I think I know who mine would be, but then I didn't pick this person when their letter came up, so I'm not going to share my answer.
At the letter K, I think there's two right answers here. I really believe that there are two right answers, and I wouldn't be surprised if you have one of the answers and I have the other one. And
I don't think so. I think we have the same answer.
Oh, what do you have?
My favorite wrestler of all time. Favorite. Kurt Angle.
Okay. I have Kurt Angle as well. I thought you could be a Kenny Omega person. To me, that it was those two, Kenny or Kurt.
I was going to go with Kenny, but then I'm like, no, Kurt Angle's just like, he's in my bones, man. He's in my DNA. Like, that's how much I love Kurt Angle. That I'm such a big fan. Like, he was actually the first wrestler that I ever bought their book to actually sit down and read. I love that he is funny. He could do the funny stuff, but he was also such a great wrestler. And it's crazy to me to think that the best matches he actually had were in TNA. Mm-hmm. Like his career in WWE, phenomenal, great, loved it. But it's his stuff that he did in TNA where I'm like, this man, he's a machine. He's a machine. And also his TNA theme song, one of my favorite theme songs of all times in pro wrestling.
His TNA run needs to be studied more. It is incredible. The amount of just unbelievably good matches that, in my opinion, in some regard, dwarf what he did in the WWE, and that's saying a lot. Considering Kurt Angle, it was the anchor of one of my favorite WWE matches of all time, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21, and I can think of a handful of matches that are arguably better than that in his TNA run. He really is a machine. I'm so glad that we agreed on Kurt Angle. I'm still upset about the John Cena thing, so I'm glad that we came back here.
My favorite person on earth, Kurt Angle.
All right, Denise, we're on to the letter L, a letter that I think is going to create a lot of controversy here. I want to go first here because I do think that this is one that's going to get me crucified by my audience, but that's okay. You're still going to continue to watch my videos because, ladies and gentlemen, everyone knows that I'm part of the Low Gang. It's Logan Paul, folks. Buy Prime, 20 calories, 2 grams of sugar, tons of electrolytes. Give me the greatest celebrity performer in the history of the WWE. Dare I say the greatest celebrity performer in the history of professional wrestling. Give me the Maverick, Logan Paul. I will not apologize to anyone that tries to come after me.
I gotta admit, you got balls for going with Logan Paul because Logan Paul, he's not liked by a lot of people, but he is really great in the ring. You gotta hand it to the guy. So I 100% get why you chose Logan Paul because it crossed my mind and I was almost going to pick him, but then I was like, nah, I can't go with Logan Paul.
Coward!
So I was like, okay, who else do I really love, really respect, and admire? And that, my friends, is Lance Storm. So I went with Lance Storm. Right, one of the smartest minds in pro wrestling. I went with Lance Storm.
I think that is you are talking music to the ears of a Canadian picking Lance Storm. I totally get it. I respect the choice. I will not budge from Logan Paul, however, but I think Lance Storm is arguably one of the most underrated people to ever step foot into a professional wrestling ring. He is incredible.
I second that. Yep.
Let's go over to the letter M here. I think that there is a few options here. I went with a legend. I want to see what you picked here first.
I think you went with the exact same person because I was torn. I was going to go with someone from New Japan who their impact had so much, like, for pro wrestling, for MMA, for lots of stuff. I was going to go that direction. But then I decided to go with a WWE legend, and that is Mick Foley. I went with Mick Foley because, I mean, come on. Like, think of all of the iconic moments, matches, history that he's had in WWE. Such a unique character, characters, I should say, with the three faces of Foley. And dude, some of the most extreme, most iconic moments, getting thrown off the Hell in a Cell. I mean, dude, who doesn't love Mick Foley? Everyone loves Mick Foley.
That's the best way to put it. Who doesn't love Mick Foley? I can't name another wrestler that's been able to get three characters incredibly over with the crowd. That speaks to the testament of the likability and the professionalism of Mick Foley. He's just so good as a character worker. And then when he gets in the ring, he's not the prototypical guy that you'd expect to be able to put on fantastic matches. And yet he does time after time. Many times at the expense of his body because of the maybe technical limitations. He's no Daniel Bryan, but he can still make you watch everything that he does, even if it puts himself at risk. That's the beauty of Mick Foley. He is willing to put it all on the line for fans, whether he was Dude Love, Mick Foley, Cactus Jack, Mankind, you name it.
Exactly.
Oh! Whoa! Look at this.
See?
Yo!
And that's dead weight. Oh, I forgot about this.
Oh, that was a sneak peek of this week's Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is available exclusively on Patreon. Over on the Patreon, not only will you get the newest episode of Wrestling is Cool 3 days earlier than everyone else, but you're going to get the Raw review, SmackDown review, NXT review, and you're also going to get 5 weekly episodes of the Wrestling is Cool Match Club, which is a series where people on Patreon vote on which matches we watch and commentate on. This week, we're looking at Drew McIntyre versus Will Ospreay from WCPW, Triple H versus The Rock in a ladder match in SummerSlam 1998. We're looking at Zila and Jacob Fatu taking on Bang and Matthews in GCW. We're also looking at Cesaro versus Sami Zayn all the way back in NXT in 2013, and Rey Mysterio versus Prince Puma, aka Ricochet, in Lucha Underground. You can find all this over on patreon.com/SantiZap. You'll find it in the top link in the description or the link in the pin comment. Over 2,000 of you are already supporting on Patreon, so thank you so much for this crazy stretch. We really appreciate your support, and back to the video. Let's go to the letter N, and I'll go here first because I really want to give this person their flowers. I feel like there's a few options here, but I genuinely believe that this person just gets too much hate. I genuinely believe that she is a legend in the industry. I believe that she was a trailblazer in a time in women's wrestling where it desperately needed a Natalya. I'm going with Natalya here. I know that my crowd, my viewers are going, I'm telling you, man, you're gonna miss her when she's gone. You're gonna realize what a great trailblazer she was for women's wrestling when she finally hangs it up.
Dude, I thought you were about to start singing the Cup song. You're gonna miss me when I'm gone, when I'm gone. You know what I'm talking about from Pitch Perfect?
I know exactly. I have a niece, and there was a period of time where the Cup song was all that would come out of her mouth.
I love that song. I can't do it like she does, but y'all know which one I'm talking about. Okay, so I agree with you. I think there needs to be more respect put on Natalya's name for sure. I think she's great. I had a hard time with N because I really couldn't decide which direction to go. And even right now, I was sort of like trying to decide like whether or not I was going to change my option. I am going to go with someone totally unexpected. I'm going to go with Nick Wayne.
Ooh, wow.
The young Nick Wayne. We're going with an 18-year-old.
Wow.
The only reason why I'm going with Nick Wayne is because I was like, okay, I've kind of got a lot of different stuff on my list here, right? I've got in like legends, I've got in people from all promotions. So I might as well throw in someone who's young and spice things up. So the reason why I went with Nick Wayne is because he's a kid and he's like doing so well. Like he's been wrestling since he was so young. His father, you know, obviously a legend. It's like, to me, Nick Wayne is going to be bigger going to get bigger and better as he continues on in his career. Obviously, right now in AEW, he's just kind of, just there right now with Christian Cage and all of that. But I more so respect a lot of what he's done in the independents. So for that reason, I decided to spice things up.
Oh, you definitely spiced things up. I think it's a little wild to throw somebody
but I didn't know who else to put.
I do think that if we were to revisit this list in 10, 15 years, that could be the undeniably true answer. I still think it's a little bit early, but you say
it's
that
super early.
But you also, and to play devil's advocate to myself, you mentioned that he's just there with Christian. I mean, this guy is just there, about to have a match with the AEW World Champion on Dynamite. That's incredibly impressive for somebody his age. What he has accomplished in the short amount of time that he's had in wrestling is nothing short of amazing. I will not take that away
He's
from
wrestled some really big names in the independent scene, And so for that reason, because I was even thinking, okay, well, what if I go with someone who's like deathmatch, great in deathmatch category? So I was going to go with Nick Gage. I thought about that. Then I was like, okay, well, maybe I should go with Nick Jackson from the Young Bucks. But then I was like, I feel weird just putting Nick Jackson by himself without putting Matt Jackson. So that's why I was like, okay, so that eliminates them. And then, I don't know, I just figured okay, I'll go with Nick Wayne.
I'm so happy that you're in this video to balance my WWE elitist choices that people are going to call.
That's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because that means I'm gonna get all the hate for not choosing some of the people that you would think that I would choose.
And hey, if any of my viewers want to hate on Denise, at least make sure you do it on her video that we did together so she could get the view.
Might as well, right? Might as well.
Let's go to the letter O. I think that it could be an obvious one. It could not. I went with Owen Hart. And again, I think the Canadian in me is coming out, as you're probably seeing with a lot of these picks. I think in terms of an in-ring performer, there are very few that could say that they're better than Owen Hart. Owen Hart, to me, really is the bar when it comes to excellence in the ring. What about yourself?
So my pick was also Owen Hart. The second you said it was an obvious pick, I'm like, oh, we have the exact same person. Obviously the way that he passed was very, very, heartbreaking, unfortunate, all of the words. And it's like, I always stop and think what could have been. And I think that's what also really hurts when you think about what could have been, not just, of course, in his personal life, but also in his wrestling career. And it's just a heartbreaking story every time you think about it. But the other thing, though, is that when you think of some of the greatest wrestlers, whether or not we were talking about O's or no O's, I think you would still be mentioning Owen Hart.
Absolutely, 100%. And you see a lot of the influence that he's left behind with his wrestling style across the board. It's so many big names across the industry really model a lot of what Owen Hart paved along the way. So to me, it was an undeniably obvious answer. And even though you didn't pick John Cena again, I'm glad that we're here on Owen Hart. P, what I went such a weird route here that I don't know if it's legal. You might be able to throw a flag on the play here. For P, I went with Paul Heyman.
What?
I know. Listen. I understand.
What?
I understand that this breaks the rules of everything that we're doing, but he is just too good of a manager to leave off of this list with the P's. I thought of numerous different wrestlers that I could go with, and even though Paul Heyman is not an in-ring performer, he's had matches though, I couldn't put anyone above Paul Heyman.
I almost feel like I should get 2 picks now because I was torn on the P category. I had 2 names I really wanted to go with, and I ended up settling with one, but I was like, damn, I really like this other person. Okay, my pick was Penta El Cero Miedo because I love Penta, and I was almost gonna cheat and put Lucha Bros at L. But I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't think I could include tag teams. But now that you included a manager, I could have done Al Lucha Brothers.
I broke things. I understand that I've taken the wheel and I've broken it, but I apologize to absolutely no one that is watching this video. Paul Heyman. I have to go with Paul, man.
All right, well, I'm going with Penta El Cero Miedo because, okay, let me ask you a question. Who do you want to see a ladder match with? Penta? Oh, actually, you know what? Paul Heyman in a ladder match would be pretty interesting.
That's funny.
I would pay to watch that, actually.
You absolutely would. But I get the sentiment that you're going with. It's, oh my goodness. I want to say, if I have to pick somebody there, I still might want to see Paul Heyman too. But Penta is absolutely bananas. He is probably my favorite masked luchador of all time. Sorry, Rey Mysterio. I think Penta is just unbelievably good from his time. The amazing work that he's done in Lucha Underground to his stuff in AEW. You are in awe whenever Penta does anything, because not only is he doing the high flying stuff, from his background in Lucha Libre, but he has the unique ability to make Lucha Libre moves look painful, which I do think that a lot of luchadors aren't able to do because they focus more on the flashy look. Penta can make any of those flashy moves also look like they just pierced your soul.
So, yes, you're right on that. And the other person that I was debating on, I was almost going to go with Pac, because I really love Pac a whole lot. Oh my God, I was torn between those two.
And you know what's funny? I feel like everything that we just said about Penta, we could pretty much say about Pac as well.
I was going to say, yeah, they're very similar, but in different ways, yeah.
Sorry I cheated with Paul Heyman. Q, I couldn't think of anybody. I racked my brain around this. I legitimately couldn't think of anybody. And probably, again, because I didn't go outside of the realm of the WWE, I ended up here with Hall of Famer Queen Sharmell.
And that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
It's as good as I could get. I know that there are other queens out there, Queen Zelina, but, she's not a Q.
Yeah.
Zelina is a Z. Queen Sharmell, she's not Sharmell. She's Queen Sharmell. She embodies the Qs.
Dude, I had the hardest time with Q. And I was like, I ain't going to be picking QT Marshall. Like, what the fuck? I'm not going to do that. So who am I going to go with? So I decided to go with someone that I remember seeing a whole lot in my early PWG days. And I'm like, well, I watched him wrestle, so it's going to be Quicksilver.
Okay.
I used to watch him wrestle back in PWG several moons ago. So literally, because I've seen him and I liked what he did when I would watch him there, that's why he's my pick.
Hey, we're both reaching. The options at Q were tough, admittedly.
It was very, very hard. I was like, I don't know. Like, we need more Q wrestlers.
I agree. Let's go to R. And I want to say it's an obvious one, but Denise, you're just so full of surprises that I'm concerned that you didn't pick Randy Orton. And I didn't pick Randy. Oh, Denise, what are you doing? What did you go with?
Hey, I think given the okay, I like Randy. I'm a big Randy fan, but for the sake of this, I'm going to have to get ugly, okay?
Ooh.
All right?
All right.
This person had a greater impact in professional wrestling, Randy, over Randy. So I am going with none other than Rey Mysterio.
No, you're wrong. That is so false. Denise, I am about to end this call, end this video. Rey Mysterio is a scumbag father. He is a deadbeat that didn't even get Dominic the Mercedes that he wanted. And that's what you're going to go with?
Rey Mysterio, the freaking legend. The legend, Rey Mysterio. Not the legend killer, the legend, Rey Mysterio, for inspiring generations of pro wrestlers and making such a big impact in the United States, doing what he did, changing things. At the time, the things that he was doing, people were like, jaw-dropping. So yeah, Rey Mysterio.
You know what? To get out of my Rey Mysterio hating
Suck it, Randy.
Gimmick, yeah, because I've got this gimmick that I hate Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio is actually like
what?
I'm huge Dominic Mysterio simp according to the internet. So it's like by default I have to hate Rey Mysterio. But to get out of that character for a second, Rey Mysterio is actually my fourth favorite WWE superstar of all time, and the first person I can credit with saying being my favorite WWE superstar of all time, because I got into wrestling in 2002 when he was just an electrifying high flyer, having some of the most mind-boggling matches, whether it's with Chavo, the SmackDown 6, Kurt Angle. He was just stealing the show. But when I look at the longevity, when I look at who the aliens are going to talk about when it comes to when they find what is this professional wrestling thing. I don't think that they're going to be talking about this Rey Mysterio guy. I think they're going to be talking about the 3 most dangerous letters in the alphabet in this alphabet game that we're playing. RKO, Randy Orton.
No, they're going to be talking about the 619. They're going to be talking about the Booyaka Booyaka. They're going to be talking about Rey Mysterio.
Let's go to the S here. Denise, please, come on. We have to be in sync for this one. There's no way that we're not. Denise, you're making me cry here.
Stop. Let me tell you something, all right? Earlier, remember I had said that my favorite WWE superstar was not on this list?
Would this have been your favorite WWE superstar?
Yes. But I went with the decision of choosing someone in terms of like in-ring versus popularity versus like superstardom. So my answer is not Stone Cold.
That's my
I
answer.
know, because he's the greatest, he's the best, and of course you would pick him, but I went with the direction. I was thinking of like wrestlers, like wrestling, like more on that side of things. That's what I was thinking about for this list. So I went with Shawn Michaels.
Oh, that I can't even fight you on that.
Right.
I didn't even think of Shawn Michaels because I was just so quick by default Stone Cold. There's no one else.
Right.
Shawn's a great option, though.
See, I thought about it more in terms of, okay, matches. Whose matches do I like most? And that is Shawn Michaels. But my favorite WWE superstar of all time is Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I'm like, okay, well, I was thinking wrestling, so that's why I went with Shawn Michaels, because again, some of the greatest matches with The Undertaker, WrestleMania, the one we were just talking about with Kurt Angle, WrestleMania 21. I mean, he is like his body of work for all the time that he was active in ring. It's just crazy. Like I recently went back and like watched all of his WrestleMania matches, and I'm just like, it's so crazy to think about like everything he did from like the very beginning with the Rockers to where he ended up sort of revolutionizing his career. And I'm just such a big fan of Shawn, so that's why I went with that direction. But yeah, I can't. I was gonna say if you're going more.
I thought we were gonna.
No, I can't. I love Stone Cold, but I wasn't sure. You didn't give me very many rules. My assumption was, we're picking people based on wrestling skills. So I based my entire list off of wrestling skills.
That's fair. I love the diversity that we're bringing here. And I thought that we were going to have to throw hands across screens here, that you didn't go with Stone Cold, but I think that you put it beautifully with Shawn Michaels. The guy had 2 Hall of Fame careers. Who can say that? Like 2 separate careers separated by 4 years of absence. And in both of them, you could say that's a Hall of Fame worthy career and that's a Hall of Fame worthy career. You're kind of winning me over to Shawn Michaels, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
But I was going to say, when you're thinking of star, though, no one compares to Stone Cold.
No one at all. But I do think that Shawn Michaels brings that intangible, which is the in-ring, the body of work, the resume. I think it dwarfs what Stone Cold did, but this is, at the end of the day, Stone Cold freaking Steve Austin. Like, it's an easy choice, which is why it came to me so quickly that I didn't even think that there were anybody that could rival Stone Cold as a choice. But I think you brought the kryptonite, honestly. You brought the heat there.
There was a lot. I was sort of torn on this one, but then I'm like, nah, go with your heart, girl. It's Shawn Michaels.
Fair enough. Let's go with T. What did you go with here?
Well, I gotta tell you, I was torn on this one too, because I'm like, all right, which direction do I go in? There's so many people that have the in their first name. And then I started thinking, well, be honest with yourself. Who are you a big fan of when you were a kid? Now, I know this person. Every time I say I was a big Triple H fan, people always tell me like, oh, he's so boring. How are you a big Triple H fan? I was that rare person that was a bit, there you go.
I went with Triple H too.
Triple H too, exactly. I know a lot of people think that he's boring, but I personally was just a big fan from like the very beginning of his. And so it had to be Triple H.
Me too. I think in terms of his heel work throughout the Ruthless Aggression era, the stuff with DX, like there's just so much to extrapolate from his career that is just incredible. And if you want to include the work that and the legacy that he's going to be leaving behind now as an executive, if you want to tack that on to here, it's undeniable. More than anything, Denise, I'm just glad that we both believe that Triple H belongs in the T's, because I will fight anybody that believes that he belongs in the H's. That is just that's wrong. If he was going to the DMV, renew his license, would he say that his name starts with T or an H? I say T.
I say P.
We're gonna go with Paul Levesque. Sure.
No, but yeah, I wouldn't put Hunter Hearst Helmsley, because when I think of Hunter Hearst Helmsley, I think of obviously his earlier stuff, and it was like kind of lame. So I think Triple H is more badass. So for that reason, I would argue Triple H in the T category versus the H category.
I'm gonna show you what I got, because I feel like this might have thrown you for a loop, because in my logic, thes don't count as part of the name. So
you didn't count thes? Because I was going to... Oh, I know who you're picking.
Yeah, so I feel free to throw a flag on the play. I did go with Undertaker here. I just feel like the doesn't really count. Like when I think of The Miz, I don't think he's an M. It's even like his logo. He's an M.
You know... So I went and I looked on those little list people, because I'm like, what if I forgot somebody, right? So I went and checked. Undertaker is under the T category in The Undertaker, and so is The Miz. He's under The Miz.
Interesting. See, I'm more willing to buy the argument.
But I feel like you can do it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm more willing to buy the argument that Undertaker is a T, but not The Miz. The Miz is an M, through and through.
Yeah, because you could say Mike Mizanin.
Sure.
The Undertaker, I don't think I ever refer to The Undertaker as just I always have to say the before it.
You know what? You bring up a good point.
When do you just say Undertaker? Well, I guess I just did it right now.
Yeah.
But I always say The Undertaker.
Look, I'll leave this one up to the comments section. Is this a...
But no, it counts. It definitely counts. I think it definitely counts, yes.
So what did you come up with for you?
Well, I was thinking of The Undertaker in the T category, so that's why I didn't put him in the U category, and now I feel really stupid.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, the confusion here.
Look, I'm not going to change my answer. I'm going to stick to the same answer that I already had, just to give some different perspective, and I am going to go with, and again, because I was thinking of The Undertaker in the T category, but I'm going to go with my original person that I had in the U category, and that is Ultimo Dragon.
Great
I
choice.
decided to go with him because, like, dude, like, there would be no Dragon Gate if it wasn't for him. Like, he trained that first generation of talent for Dragon Gate, and I still remember the first time I went to my first Dragon Gate show, I was in awe of, like, oh my God, this exists? It was like entering a whole new world. I was the Little Mermaid, and that's literally how I felt when I started watching Dragon Gate. So just to give a different answer, I'm sticking with Ultimo Dragon.
You know what? If I considered Undertaker a T, I think Ultimo Dragon would have been my choice. That or maybe Umaga. It would have been between those two for me personally. I think it's a great choice. I'm not going to push back on it.
Sweet.
Let's go with V. This is interesting. I'll go first because this is a person to me that's really special and near to my heart as a wrestling fan in the Ruthless Aggression era. I always hear Trish and Lita and Trish. In my opinion, the Ruthless Aggression era is Trish, Lita, and Victoria. The fact that she's left off of that list in the conversation to me is a little bit crazy. On top of that, she went on to have a great career over in TNA as well. Not as a V, but you know, to me, she's still Victoria even when she's over there. And if I can add a little fun fact, this was Santi's very first crush as a kid. I loved Victoria.
Was it Victoria? Why?
I don't know. I think it might have been the crazy psycho character that even as
So you're
kid,
into crazy bitches?
It might be that. I think I'm into crazy bitches. When you look at the resume of women that I've dated, it's been strong brunettes. And I think it started because of Victoria.
Stop it. You know, usually everybody's like, oh, Trish Stratus, Sunny, Sable. Those are usually the answers for first crushes. I think you're the first person that I've ever heard say Victoria.
Yes, and I'm not apologetic. Let's go, Victoria, baby.
Oh, man. Now I'm starting to wonder about you. Now I'm starting to wonder. All right. I went totally different. I went with, guys, it's Vader time, baby. Vader.
Great choice. To me, if it wasn't Victoria, the love of my life, wasn't around for the V's, I probably would have gone Vader as well.
So you're telling me that Vader did nothing for you in terms of making you fall in love the way Victoria did?
I would say that that's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Vader didn't exactly.
He didn't quite do it for me.
just missed it by a little bit.
Tiny bit. Let's go to the W's. Let's start to round this out. I'll let you go first here. Who did you go with here?
I think everyone.
Oh, let's see.
I think everyone knows what my answer is going to be, and that,
is.
my friends, is Will Ospreay. I mean, what can I say? He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, and he's only just gotten started. His matches are insane. I have this running compliment that we always make on my Dynamite post show that this guy cannot have a bad match. Like, bad match is not in this guy's arsenal at all. Will Ospreay is freaking incredible. I can't even explain it. I can't even put it in words. I'm such a big fan of his. Plus, his personality is so lovable too. Like, to me, he's just like that guy that you can just hang out with and like have a chat, and it's cool, you know?
Yeah.
So Will Ospreay for me all the way.
I totally get it, and I think if I were to continue to watch more Will Ospreay matches, he would start to win my heart over a little bit. But right now, I see Will Ospreay as the Fast and Furious of wrestling, where it's just so entertaining. I want to watch it, but I do feel like there is more nuances to professional wrestling that a guy like William Regal brings in. And that's who I ended up going with. I love the in-ring psychology that I don't think anyone else has been able to replicate that William Regal brought in. I think honestly the closest is Gunther, and Gunther is on his way to really replicating that William Regal-esque feeling of him being in the ring, whether it was the stuff over in WCW, his amazing body of work in the WWE. I was just always so engrossed whenever he was in the ring. To me, he was just like watching a master chef cook a meal in front of you. That's what to me always felt like when I watched a William Regal match. Again, Will Ospreay, greatest wrestler probably alive today, but I think there's just something that William Regal has done to my heart that's latched on that Will Ospreay hasn't done just yet.
You know what it is? It's the bloody sunshine.
Oh,
it's the voice. It's the voice. Oh, sunshine. Or the war games. I can't do that right now.
X, not a lot of options here.
So for mine, I knew this one right away. It was X-Pac, baby.
Ooh.
Definitely X-Pac. I love X-Pac. Got to do a show with him for 3 years. So yeah, so he's very near and dear to my heart. So I went with X-Pac all the way. And I think people forget just how good he was, especially for that time period that he was in. And the last time I saw him wrestle was a couple years ago live at a WrestleCon show. And like he went out there, of course he was doing the greatest hits, but damn, it was so good. And I actually got to see him after that at GCW too, when he wrestled Joey Janela. So yeah, there's been a lot of good recent stuff in the last couple of years that he's done too. But X-Pac for me.
I think it's a great choice. I didn't even think of him because I was thinking of Sean Waltman when I was making my list. So to me, he was against Stone Cold Steve Austin. It just he wasn't gonna break that barrier. So I didn't even consider him for the X's. I went with Xavier Woods. I loved what he's done. I know that really when you think of Xavier, it's the entire trio of the New Day, but he's just so likable, so lovable as a character worker. I think that he is just fantastic. I do believe that the best stuff that he's done has been as a trio with the New Day, but individually, every member of the New Day also brings a certain level of value individually as well. It doesn't always have to be as a member of the New Day, which I know maybe now you're thinking like, well, I guess I could have gone with Nick Jackson, but I feel like these three guys can be more on their own than the Young Bucks personally.
Yes.
That's
I think so too.
My views.
I think so too. I see them like together, but I also see them separately because they've also done so much on their own. So yeah, I do agree with that.
All right, let's bring it home. Why? Could you think of anything?
So I wouldn't say I cheated a little bit.
Hey, if I went with Paul Heyman, you could do whatever you want at this point.
So for this one, I went with Yoshihiro Tajiri.
Ooh.
We know him as Tajiri, but his first name with Yoshihiro. So I was like, okay, I'm going to use him in the Y category because that's his first name. But technically, we know him as Tajiri. So that's who I went with for the Y category. And again, I was going to go with the Young Bucks, but then I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do tag teams.
You could have done whatever you wanted.
Oh my God. Well, then I would have gone with the Young Bucks.
But then would they have been a T? Oh, see? Now we have this
oh my God.
See what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, so many issues here.
Look, I went with Yokozuna. I was actually recently at the Knox Pro Academy gym in Los Angeles. So I got to see a lot of awesome memorabilia from Yokozuna. So right now he's top of mind right now. And not only is he top of mind, but like the whole Samoan dynasty is just so top of mind for me right now. But to me, there weren't really that many options either when it came to why. But hey, if we're talking about a Hall of Famer, legend of the industry, WWE champion, Royal Rumble winner, you know, I think he's got the resume to fit in this list nicely.
Yeah, you're right. I think that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
Let's round it out with Z. I'll give you mine. And this, it's the Latino in me. I just love this woman. I love everything that she does. I love me some Zelina Vega. I think that she's fantastic. Whether she wants to be a manager or wants to be an in-ring performer, I think that she can be excellent on both accounts. And there's not that many people in the WWE or in wrestling that can say that they can be an A+ manager or an A+ in-ring performer. So what you have here for Z?
Totally different. I went with Zack Sabre Jr., one of the greatest technical wrestlers. I just think he is phenomenal. And when I talk about people that when you watch them wrestle, you like learn more, Zack Sabre is another one. When I watch him wrestle, I'm like, wait, how did he get from there to there? And then like I start to study the way that he does things. And again, feel smarter when I watch Zack Sabre Jr. wrestle. So that's why I went with ZSJ.
I think that is an absolutely fantastic pick, especially, you know, when you see my picks, you see some very WWE centric things, because I'm not afraid to say, like, this is the brand that I watch far and away the most. When I go outside of my little comfort zone that is WWE, Zack Sabre Jr. matches are the thing that draws me in. He is so incredibly good. Whether it's his matches in New Japan, I got the pleasure of watching him recently at Forbidden Door in Toronto. He is like you said, you learn from watching him wrestle. He truly is a master tactician in that ring.
He definitely is. He's just incredible. And so I definitely had to go with him. I've seen so many of his matches that I'm just like, I just love. But like, that's the thing. Like, I know that everyone has their thing, right? Because obviously I cover WWE full time. I do that. WWE and AEW is what I cover full time. But I really, really love all wrestling. So I always try to give some love like across the board. But I just love wrestling in general. I don't even care what company it is. If it's good wrestling, I will tune in. I will tune in.
And I think that's a great transition to get my viewers to come over and check you out, because hey fellas, I know you like my videos, but I am keeping you in a box because I love talking about WWE. Those are the videos that you're gonna get. But if you want to expand your horizon, I don't think that it gets better than checking out Denise Salcedo. Denise, where can people check you out?
Thank you so much. YouTube.com/Denise Salcedo. That's the place to be. I post content all the time, interviews, podcasts, everything that I can think of, whatever it is that I'm in the mood for. You can go ahead and check that out. And then also Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, everything Denise Salcedo. Just search me up and you guys will find it. But yeah, you can check me out there.
Fantastic. Hopefully it's not the last time that you'll see Denise here on this channel. Denise, it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sticking that out with me. Thank you for sitting through my, what did you say, cinnamon latte answers? My Chipotle answers?
I was going to say, yeah, you'll go to Chipotle. Well, I don't know what that says, because while you're at Chipotle, I'll be at the freaking street getting some like street tacos or something. Yeah,
you're like, oh, you don't understand. People just don't understand. They haven't seen this street taco before. They need to see it.
I love it. I know, that's so funny. But I feel like just having this balance is very fun and it's totally different. But yeah, I loved it. I had a great time. And yeah, I'll be here anytime you want me to.
Fantastic. Folks, if you enjoyed that video, make sure to leave it a like. Go check out Denise Salcedo. But we're done here. Thank you so much for watching. Now get out of here.